In this tutorial, we're gonna take a look how we can speed up our player by using the shop manager script. As soon as we're gonna buy this item, we will see our player just gonna go way faster and it's gonna jump high. Before we do that, I'm gonna show you the speed. You can see we moving slowly and we not jumping at all in the y-axis. So we need to increase the value, and we have enough diamonds we can see, which is 175. But as soon as we're gonna buy this item, we should see it's gonna go down, and then our player just gonna move faster. So if I buy both of these item, we can see by now with diamonds we have 168, and we can see our player is going way faster and it's also jumping, and we can collect these diamonds. And before I jump into this tutorial, I want to thanks Riabuz Rivers, Anwar Knight, and a special credit goes to Felipe for joining Patreon membership and unlocking exclusive benefits. So if you are guys interested, then you can do too. I have the link in the description, and by that you will unlock many benefits by joining my Patreon membership. So right now let's dive into this tutorial without furthering delay. Let's create a script in order to buy our item. So we're gonna create a shop manager script, and that script just gonna handle in order to buy the item and apply the effect on our player, like like basically increase the speed, increase the health amount, and so on. So we're gonna create the script for first. So let's go over to project tab, assets, right click, go create, then go over to scripting, mono behavior script, and name it to something like shop manager. And I already created, I have it inside my shop folder. You can see the script right over here, and make sure you just attach this script to your game manager game object. In my case, I already attached to my inventory manager game object. So I'm gonna open that up by double clicking on it, and we need some information. Basically we need some variable. We will go and remove this update function, we don't need, but we're gonna use the start function because we need that. So the first thing we need the shop items. How many? Basically, you can think of a warehouse, because we need to match the item. If we already collected the item and then we saved our game, and we're gonna open the game one more time or later, and we need to make sure if the item is there, then it means that we have to apply the effect. So that's why we're gonna create a shop items variable that will be array, and you can just assume that is a warehouse, and we're gonna check the item right there if we have previously saved any item. So we're gonna make a parameter for it. So let's make a for it. So we're gonna make a public, and this will be item data, and make these arrows because this just gonna have a we're gonna have multiples item data. And this we can call it something like shop items. Let's call it shop items, just like that. And you can just assume like a warehouse of items. And we also need how many diamonds we have right now, because we need to check if we have enough diamonds. It means we just gonna able to buy, and if we don't, then we're not gonna able to buy. So we need a parameter for it. So we're gonna make a public. It doesn't need to be public, you can just make it private instead. And we're gonna call this will be in type, and we can call it something like current diamond. So let's call it current diamonds, something just like that. And also we need a reference to a text element, so we can show how many diamonds we have in the UI. So because that is a UI element, make sure you just go to top of your class and include this namespace called using unity engine.ui. And so I'm gonna make a parameter for it. So let's make a public, that will be text type because that is a text element, and we can call it something like diamond text. So I'm gonna call it diamond underscore text, something just like that. And we also need a reference to this inventory manager script, this script, because we need to check that if the item already we bought. and we created a has item function. We can see a return function which basically check if the item is already bought, we bought, and we can just use it in order to check, because we don't want to buy multiple times if it's already bought. So that's why we need a reference to this inventory manager script. So we're gonna use the function, and also we're gonna use this add item function to add the item after buying the effect, or basically the item after buying it. And we also need a reference to this player stat script, because inside we can see we have the apply effect function, because we need to apply the effect once we're gonna buy the item. So we can just increase the health amount of this player, or speed, or jump height, something just around it. So we also need a reference to this player stat, and we can see we already made the singleton pattern, so we can just directly access. And if you confused about singleton pattern, then I will have a video in the description, you can go and check it out. So now let's go over to our shop manager script, and let's grab the reference first. So we're gonna make a private, and we need a reference to inventory manager script. So we're gonna make a inventory in inventory manager, let's call it something like manager. And we also need player stat script reference, so we're going to make a private. So let's make a private player stats, let's call it something like stats, something just like that. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the start function. So in this start of the game, we just gonna grab the reference. So we will set our manager equal to basically inventory manager C# class. We're gonna go over to basically we need to type the class name, which is inventory manager, and let's access the instant of it. Basically we just taking this inventory managers class, and we just putting inside this variable which we created inventory manager, and we just call it manager. And we're gonna do the same thing for our player stats. So let's set our stats equal to player stat class, and then we're gonna access the instant, and now we have it. And we just use the start function. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a function in order to buy the item. So let's use a function. And we're gonna make this function public, because we're gonna call it through a button, or we're gonna call it through other class or other script. So that's why we're just marking as public void, and let's call it something like buy item. And this function is just gonna take a item data parameter, because we need to check what type of item we just collecting, or basically we buying, we need to check. So that's why it's gonna take a item data parameter, let's call it something like item, and let's make some curly brackets. And before we buy the item, we need to check if the item is already bought, we already own it, that item. So we will go to our inventory manager class, in our case that is manager. Then we're going to use the has item function. So let's use the if condition. Let's make first bracket and some curly brackets, and we will go to our manager class, basically inventory manager. And now we're going to access the has item function, return function, and it's going to take the item parameter. So let's pass this item parameter that we pass over here. So it means that item is already on it. It means we need to stop buying it, because we already have that. So that's why we just made the function inside this manager, basically inventory manager class. So in this situation, what we're gonna do, we're gonna type return, because we already own it, that item. And now what we gonna do, we also need to check that if we have enough diamonds. Let's suppose we don't have enough diamond, it means we're gonna unable to buy this item. So that's why we also gonna check before we buy the item if we have enough diamonds or not, and we're gonna check with the price of the item. So let's use the if condition once again, and over here we're gonna check. And to do that, what we will do, we basically we created a parameter called current diamonds in the top of our class. We will check it. So if our current diamonds if it's lesser than the price of the item that we buying. So we will go to item dot and we're gonna access the price of it. If it's lesser than, basically means we don't have enough diamonds. Our current diamonds or diamonds is lesser than price of the item, means we don't have enough enough diamonds. It means we need to stop buying it. So that's why we're going to type return, because we don't have enough diamonds and we all also have the items already on it. And let's suppose right now we have enough diamonds and the item is not on it at all. It means we are ready to buy that item. So the first thing what we need to do, we need to subtract our item price from our current diamonds or the diamonds we have, because it's time to buy. It means we need to subtract our current diamonds. So we will subtract from this current diamonds with our price of the item. So we will use this minus equal item dot price, sorry, item dot price, something just like that. Basically we just going over to this item data scriptable object script, and we accessing the price of the item, and we basically checking with it. And after buying that, we just subtracting our current diamonds with the price of the item. And after doing that, we need to make sure we update in the UI how many diamonds we have. And we created a variable called a diamond text, we can see. So we will go to our diamond text, and we're gonna access the text component, and we're gonna set equal to our current diamonds, because we need to update in the UI. And this is a int variable and this is a string variable. So we need to convert this string variable to a this int value to a string. So we're going to use the function call to string. And after buying the item, what we need to do, we need to make sure we add the item inside our inventory. So we will go to our manager class, basically inventory manager C# script. And now we're gonna access we're gonna call the add item function to add the item inside our inventory. And now it's gonna take the item that we want to add inside our inventory. So we're gonna pass our item parameter that we pass inside our buy item function, we can see. And after adding the item inside our inventory, we also need to make sure we apply the effect, because we just buy the item and it's time to apply the effect on our player. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna apply the effect. And to do that, we will go to our stats script, basically player stats. And now we're gonna call the apply effect function in order to apply the effect. And now it's gonna take the item that we want to apply with. So I'm gonna pass my item parameter. Basically it's gonna take the item data, basically which type of item it is, and we just applying it. And after that, we need to make sure we just save that. So we will go to our save system script, and we're going to call the save player data function in order to save it, because we need to save. We just added the item inside our inventory, and we just applied the item effect, we can see. And we also need to save all of these things, because we just bought the item and we just applied the effect and we add it inside our inventory. So right now what we're gonna do, we'll go to our save system script, and now let's call the save player data function to save it. And now it's gonna take the diamond that we want to save. So we will pass our current diamonds after purchasing. And the second thing, it's gonna take the inventory manager script or the class. So we're gonna pass our manager, basically inventory manager. And now we just done these things, and we can simply call this buy item function in order to buy the item. And after doing all of these things, we can see we just saving whatever we have done so far. And now we're gonna make a function load game function in order to check if we have previous item, save previous item. Let's suppose we already have some items inside our inventory. It means we can just simply buy, and then we can just apply the effect in the start of the game. So that's why we're gonna make a function, and this function will be responsible for if the item is already there. Basically if we save it and players basically open up the game for the second time, third time, or fourth time, and player just save it in the last time he or she just played the game, it means we need to apply the effect because the player basically saved. If player didn't save, so we can just skip ahead. So we're gonna make a function for it. So let's make a function, and it doesn't need to be public, so we're gonna make a void, and let's call it something like load game function, something just like that, first bracket and some curly brackets. And inside this function, what we're gonna do, firstly we need to get the saved data we saved in the last game. So we can simply call the load data function. So let's go to save system script, and we're gonna call the load data function just like that. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna store it into a variable, and that will be our save data. So let's call it save data, and we can call it something like old data or save it data. I'm gonna call it simply data equal to this, just like that. And this function just gonna be responsible for if we already have some saved items and we just purchased already in the last game, so we can apply the effect, and we just get the data. As you can see, we just use the load data function to get the previous data or the data that we saved in the last game. And now what we need to do, we just want to we want to clear the inventory for temporary, and also we just want to set the current diamonds to our saved diamonds. So what we're gonna do simply, and we also need to make sure we just reset the stats. So our player just gonna get the default value. It can be jump, it can be like player. Let's suppose the player is running with 5 unit, so we just want to get it back to 5 unit of this player speed. So we just want to get the default. So that's why we made a function called player stats reset stats function inside our player stats script, and we can see it right over here to set the value to default. So right now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to our shop manager script, and over here first thing we need to clear the inventory. We just want to clear the inventory if we have some temporary item inside our inventory. So we will go to inventory class, so in our case that is manager, and we're gonna call the clear function to clear that we created inside our inventory manager script. And after that we also need to make sure we just reset the stats. So we will go to as stats script, basically player stats, and let's call the reset stats function to reset the stats. And after doing that, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna look through all of the items id from this saved data. So we're gonna loop it through all of the items id, and if any items id matches with the item, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna apply the firstly we're gonna add the item to our inventory, and then we're gonna apply the item if we have some saved item. So now we're gonna look through all of the items. So we're gonna we're gonna look through all of the item IDs that we save it, and we have done inside my save system script and the save data. So if I go over and navigate to my save data script, you can see we created this item data as basically item data, not item data, this item IDs. So we're gonna loop through all of the items IDs, and then we're gonna loop through all of the available items inside our warehouse or these shop items parameter that we created in the top. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the for each function. So let's use the for each not for each function, basically for each loop. So and double tap or tap key on your keyboard twice, so it's just gonna fill out the format, and we will look through all of the items id. So we're gonna type string, let's call it item id, or let's call it something like id inside our shop items. So we will go to we will go to data. Basically we need to go over to our old data, basically the saved data that we saved in the last game. So we simply just going to old data, so data dot and we're gonna access the item IDs. So basically what we're doing, we simply going over to this save data script, and we accessing this item IDs item IDs list. As you can see, basically we just gonna look through all of the items ID, and we need to, what we need to do, we need to check if the item is available in our warehouse. So in our case, that is shop items. And now we're gonna look through all of the items inside this shop items array that we created. So right now what we're gonna do, we're gonna look through all of the items, available items inside our shop items. So we will use the for each once again inside this for each, and we will go to item data item, and we're gonna look through all of the item inside our available items. So in our case, that is shop items, or you can simply think of the warehouse. And now what we need to do, we need to check the if the item IDs matches. If that is the case, means that we already have the item IDs. Basically means we have some previous data. Basically we already collected a item. It can be something like speed. If it's speed, it means we need to apply the speed on our player. And then we have to what we have to do, we need to add that item to our inventory. So right now what we are gonna do, before we do that, we need to check the item ID if that is the matches with the available items that we have inside this shop items parameter. If that is the case, that means we are ready to apply. So we're gonna use the if condition for it, and we will check if our ID, basically this ID over here, if it matches. So if it's equals to, and we will go to our item, and now we're gonna access the item ID. If that is the case, it means we have some match. It means the item is available inside our shop items variable, means we have it inside our warehouse, the item that we saved. So it means we just ready to apply the effect on our player, and we're gonna add the item to our inventory. So the first thing, we're gonna add the item to our inventory because we already have the item. So what we're gonna do, we will go to our manager, basically inventory manager class, and now we're gonna use the add item function to add the item, and we're gonna pass our item, basically this item we just passing because we need to add that. And after doing that, we need to apply the effect because we just added the item inside our inventory, and now we just gonna apply the effect on our player. So to apply the effect on our player, let's go to our stats, basically player stats, and now we're gonna use this player apply effect function to apply the effect. And now it's gonna take the item, so let's pass our item, and that's all we have to do. And what we need to do now, we need to call this load game function inside this start function, because in the start of the game we need to check if we have some saved data in the last game that we saved. Let's suppose we just buy this item, let's suppose this item, and we just closes our game, and once we're gonna reopen the game once again, it means we already save it, so we're gonna get that item. So then what we're doing, firstly we just looping through the all of the items IDE, then we going all of the item data inside our available items, or basically the warehouse. And if we found the matched item ID, then we just applying the basically first thing we just adding the item inside our inventory and then applying effect, because we need to apply effect if we bought the item in the last game and we just closes the game. And once we're gonna reopen, it should apply the item on our player, so we don't need to purchase it once again. So I hope you get the logic. And now what we need to do, we're gonna call the load game function, and let's call it somewhere around here, load game, something just like that. And we're gonna save our script. We have done a mistake. If I go open up my shop manager script, we need to make sure that we set the diamonds, our current diamonds equal to data dot diamonds. We just miss this line of code because we need to save the diamonds that we saved in the last game. We need to set it back, so we're gonna have the diamonds that we saved in our last game and we collected. And now we're gonna make a function in order to increase the diamond and then update in the UI. So I'm gonna make a function for it, and let's make it somewhere around here, and I'm gonna make it public. So let's make a public void, and I'm gonna call it something like at, sorry, I'm gonna make it over here at diamonds. Let's call it at diamonds, and it's gonna take the amount of diamonds that we want to add, and this will be in type, and I'm gonna call it something like amount, and let's make first brackets. So we just want to add the diamonds, so I'm gonna set the current diamonds. So I will set equal current diamonds plus equal our amount, and we need to make sure we update in the UI as well. So we will go to our diamond text, and now we're gonna access the text. Let's set equal to our current diamonds, and now let's convert this to a string. And after that, we need to make sure we save the diamonds that we added. So we need to make sure we save the diamonds which inside our save system script that we created the function called save player data. So let's call the function to save our diamonds that we just recently added. So we're gonna go to save system script. Let's call the save player data function, and now it's gonna take the diamonds that we want to save. So I'm gonna pass my current diamonds, and the second thing, it's gonna take the inventory manager script. So I'm gonna pass my manager, and now we have to call this function in order to add the diamond. For now, I'm going to check with some keys, something like if I press down a T key, then I just want to add the diamond. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to include a function I'm going to include the update function over here. So I'm going to include the update function, and over here I'm gonna check for some input. So let's use the if condition, and we're gonna check if input dot get key down, I'm gonna put my get key down function, get key down, and now it's gonna take the key, which key we just want to check with. So I'm gonna check with the T key. So I'm gonna pass key code dot dot T. If that is the case, it means we just pressing down our T key. Then I just simply want to call the add diamonds function, and we do know what this function basically is doing. It's basically doing this res thing. So let's call the add diamond function. So let's call the add diamond function, and that's it. And now it's gonna take the amount, so I'm gonna increase with 10 units. So I'm gonna put 10, and that's it. And also we're gonna create a separate script in order to hook this buy button with our function, which is the buy item. So we're gonna make a script for it. So let's right click, let's go create, then mono behavior script, and you can name it to something like buy the item or buy item. I already created the buy the item script over here, and I'm gonna attach the script to each of these UI game object. So I will go over to my canvas, this canvas. I'm gonna go over to then shop UI, and I will select underneath my panel both of this slot, and I'm gonna attach the script which is the buy the item. So let's drag it over to this add component in the hierarchy, and now I'm gonna open that up by double clicking on it. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this start and the update function we don't need, and we can just need the shop manager script. So I'm gonna make a singleton pattern inside my shop manager. So let's go to top of our shop manager script, and let's make the singleton pattern. So we're gonna make public static, so we can directly access, and we're gonna create a variable. Our shop manager script shop basically a variable, and the variable type the class name itself. Basically the variable type should be like that, and I'm gonna call it something like instance. And let's use the awake function, which is called right before our start function. So in the awake function, I'm gonna check if if our instance is not equal to null. It means we already have an instance of this class. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna destroy that one. So let's use destroy function. We're gonna use this dot game object, and let's suppose there is a no instance of this class, then we're gonna set the instance itself. So else we're gonna set instance equal to this, just like that. And let's save it. Let's get back to our buy the item, and now we can simply make a function to buy the item, and we're gonna call this function through this button that we created. inside this slot 1 and the slot 2. So let's make the function. So we're gonna make a public void, and we're gonna call it something like by item. Let's call it by item, or let's simply call it by, and make first bracket and some curly brackets. So what we're gonna do now, we can simply go over to our shop manager script and we can call the function. So let's go to our shop manager script, then instance variable, and by this instant we're gonna call the by item function, and that's it. And now it's gonna take the item that we want to buy. So we need a reference to the buy item. So if I go over to my Unity editor, then shop assets, we can see we have the speed and this jump. So we basically need a reference both of this. It can be anything, speed or jump item. So we need a reference. So let's go to top of our class and let's grab the reference. So we're gonna make a public, and this will be item data, and let's call it something like item. And now over here, this by item function just gonna take the item. So let's pass our item that we want to buy, and underneath our slot 1 script we can see none item data. So if I basically try to buy this diamond, then what I want to do, I basically want to speed up. So I'm gonna take my speed item or speed assets, and I'm gonna drag it over to this item slot, which is the item data. So in my case speed, and if I basically collect this heart, then I basically want to jump high a little bit. So I'm gonna select my slot 2. So in my case, I'm gonna drag my jump asset or jump item data inside this item slot, which is the item data. And now we are done, and we can check our game, and we need to make sure we call the buy function in order to buy. So we need to make sure we choose our buy button underneath this slot. So we're gonna choose our buy button. Let's go over to this button component, and we need to basically we have to call the function. So we're gonna click on this plus icon, and now we need to drag the game object in which game object the script is sitting on, basically the buy function. So in our case, that is slot 1 and the slot 2. For this slot 1, I'm going to drag my slot 1. Let's click on no function. Let's go over to buy the item class or C# script. Let's call the buy function, and we're going to do the same thing for this slot 2. Let's click on this plus icon. Let's drag slot 2. Let's go buy the item, and let's call the buy function. And now we are done, and we can just go ahead and we can check it out. So I'm gonna play my game, and before you play, if you turn it into a prefab, make sure you go to overrides and then apply all. Now if I press down T key on my keyboard, we should see increase this basically these diamonds by 10 units. So if I press down T key on my keyboard, we can see we just getting a null reference. So if I go over to my console tab and double click on this message, so let's double click on it. So we don't have a reference, basically we forgot to drag our text. So if I open up if I go over to my shop manager script, we can see that diamond text is empty. So we basically need to make sure we just drag the text. So in my case, I will go over to my canvas, then UI, and I can just select the diamond text. So current diamond text, let's drag it there, basically diamond text. So make sure you just do that, or else you just gonna get the error. Now if I if I press down T key, we should see. So as you can see, indeed it increasing by 10 unit. It's now 86. And if I press down T key once again on my keyboard, we can see it's become 96, then 106. And if I click on this buy button, we should buy the item. So I just want to speed up my player speed. So if I click on this buy button underneath my this diamond, and the price we can see is 10 unit, which is we set I guess 2. So if I select my speed asset inside my folder, go over to inspector, we can see the price is 5. So if I click on it, we can see the diamonds became 101, basically get subtracted, and we cannot able to notice the jump that we making high. So what we need to do, we need to increase it. Basically we forgot to do some settings. So the first setting that we need to make sure, we basically attach our player stat script to this player game object, which I already did, as you can see. And make sure you open up your player script and by double click on it. And what we're gonna do, we basically need to replace this movement. If I go over to my fixed update function, we can see we're just multiplying with our move speed, which we really don't want. Instead we're gonna multiply with the gate speed from this player stats. So the first thing, let's grab the reference our player stats. Let's go over to top of our class and let's make a variable for it. So we're gonna make a private player stats, player stat. Let's call it something like stat, and let's go over to our start function. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna set our stats as stats equal to player stats dot instance, player stats dot instance, and that's all we have to do. And now what I'm gonna do, instead of multiplying with the move speed, we will go to our player stat skip. So in our case stats, and we're gonna multiply, basically we're gonna call the get speed function. So let's call the get speed. And for the jump, what we're gonna do, we're gonna call the get jump function. So let's go where we jumping. So we jumping over here, and we're setting with the jump height, which we don't want. So we're gonna replace with the jump height in the y, basically velocity dot y of our player with our stats. So let's go to our stats script, and we're gonna call the get jump function, which is basically applying the effect, and it can be normal or high depending upon if we buy the item. Underneath my player script, you can see the default value. Base speed is 5 and the base jump is 5 unit. And if I select my assets from that folder, which is assets, and select my jump, you can see the jump amount is 7 unit and the speed amount I have set 5 unit. So we should speed up double and we should jump double. So let's play our game to check it out. And you can see we jumping way slowly, but as soon as we're gonna buy this item, you can see that we jumping, and we just moving too much fast, as you can notice. So basically we just bought our item, as you can see. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do this. And in the next tutorial we're gonna have a look how we can just remove the effect as well. So I hope you get the idea that how you can just create the shop manager script and the buy item in order to apply the effect and add the item inside your inventory. And I will see you in the next upcoming tutorial.